You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. My name is Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down with fellow enthusiasts to talk about what's going on in the technology, business, and gaming world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody. Second episode of the podcast. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Josh, what are we going to talk about today? Well, good question. So, like I stated in the intro episode, I want you guys to get to know me better. So, in order to get to know me better, we have to start asking questions of the things that I do. So, for today's episode, I mainly want to talk about why I chose engineering, because as stated before, I'm a computer engineering major. So, I think in order to provide better context to this entire episode, why don't we start with my experiences growing up? When I was growing up, I didn't really grow up in a home that had a lot of access to technology. If I'm being honest with you guys, I grew up in a Hispanic household with parents that didn't make as much compared to many people. We were considered making below minimum of what was in the United States, if I'm being real with y'all. However, I think the main reason I ended up being so passionate about technology is because of that. Now, that sounds weird because you'd expect people to be very passionate about technology if they were more exposed to it. But I wasn't. But I ended up enjoying it more than people that were exposed to it at an early age. Because growing up, I didn't know how to use the internet until I was 13 years old. Most people nowadays know how to use the internet by the time they're 5. So, it's kind of weird, but it worked. So, when growing up, the main piece of technology I really had access to was my PS2, my Wii, and then eventually it was my DS and 3DS. Those are the main pieces of technology that I had growing up. So, when I look back at those experiences, obviously it's not as crazy as it is now, where now I'm recording on my expensive laptop that I got for college to do my CAD designing and everything, or writing up the scripts and everything on my iPad Pro, or recording with this microphone that I'm using, or even my new headset that I just bought today, which are, I'm just going to say this now, these things are amazing. Like, I love these Sennheiser 280 Pros. These things are great. But it worked. For some reason, I ended up liking technology. And in my family, I would say it's kind of a rare phenomenon because I ended up being the main one who liked it a lot, who decided to make a living out of it. Obviously, one of my brothers is also doing engineering for Microsoft, but you get the point. It was a rare occurrence. It wasn't normal, or rather than saying normal, it wasn't the majority of what everyone did. So, while I was growing up, like I mentioned before, I didn't learn how to use the internet till I was 13, if I'm being honest. So, my first experience to the internet was when I was on my 3DS and I went over to my neighbor's house and they asked me, hey, do you want to play Mario Kart Online? And I was like, how do you play Mario Kart Online? And they showed me, hey, just look at the password on our Wi-Fi box and connect it to your 3DS. And I was like, I never done that before. So when I tried it out, it was crazy because I was like, all of a sudden now I'm able to play with people that are not even near me. Like, I'm able to play with people that were all the way in Japan, Germany, like all these other countries that I had no idea about or firsthand experience about them. So it was really cool. And I think that's what really sparked my interest in it, which is a great segue into the next point, which is, how does school play a factor in this? Like, what did my school system provide me that made me interested in engineering? So this is mainly going to be for another episode, but I'm just going to say this now for better context. When I was in middle school, I was mainly a band kid. I was mainly in band and I only played clarinet. So let's keep that in mind because that's probably going to be for a later episode. But for the whole thing regarding, me being in middle school, one of the classes I took in middle school was an intro to engineering course. It was a very basic course. All we did was they made us sit in a room with computers, learn how to do PowerPoint, and that's pretty much it. Like, if I'm being honest with you, that's mainly what we did. But it fascinated me because it sparked an interest that wasn't there. I'm trying to think how to put this, especially because I don't really equate middle school that much, even though, yes, it was the beginning, but that beginning didn't really do very much. It wasn't until high school is where things got a lot more interesting. When I went to high school, I was put into the engineering endorsement for my school, or the STEM Academy. So that stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. So yeah, if you know that, great. And if you don't, well, there you go. Now you know something new every day. You learn something new every day, guys. That's just true. But in the sense of being in the STEM Academy, I had an engineering class every single year of high school. I had an engineering class my freshman year, my sophomore year, junior, and senior year. So because of that, I was able to get more exposure to engineering, except now on a more broadened sense, especially because that's how my engineering teachers taught us. Was they wanted us to at the same time, they wanted us to focus on the work that we needed to do, but they also wanted us to be more aware of what actual engineers do. Because the whole point is that most people believe that engineers are just people that, stay in a lab and are just nerds that think they know it all. Not really. I would argue that's not even the case. But, for some people they do that, and some people they don't. But that's why I said it's kind of a bad thing to really kind of identify a large group of people by some stigma that's not even correct. So it was interesting, especially on how my teachers taught us, because they wanted us to make sure that we were aware of what problems the engineers are currently trying to solve. And there's a lot of problems, but obviously we still haven't figured out a solution to some of those problems. But when it came to, I think it's mainly my sophomore years where this really got good. So in my sophomore year, my teacher was Mr. Garrison. He was my introduction to engineering. Actually, no, scratch that. Mr. Garrison was my principles of engineering teacher. There you go. That's the right one that I was looking for. Mr. Garrison helped me a lot because Mr. Garrison, mainly it's the way how he teaches is really interesting, because Garrison wants you to focus on the work, but at the same time, he wants you to be more aware of the things going on in the world. And I really like that because, it helped broaden my worldview a little bit, because it's like, okay, the reality is like there's not many people in the world that can be as blessed as I am to have all the things that I have. That's just true. Like, even the little things in life, like having somewhere to sleep or something to eat or even clothes to wear, there's people in the world that don't get to have things like that. And it's sad, but it's just true, because that's the world we live in. That, resources aren't as abundant as we want them to be, even though that's what we're meant to believe, is that there's resources everywhere, even though obviously there's still people that don't even have basic things. There's people that don't even have even underwear. And that's to us that we consider that basic, but there's people that don't have it. And it's really sad, but that's why I said I was really glad that Mr. Garrison brought in our worldview to it, because he made sure that we were not only trying to do what we needed to do for school, but that we were also aware of the things going on in the world, so that, if some of us do actually go through and become engineers, now making it as a profession, making a living off being engineers, that we could probably be some people that actually end up fixing some of those things. But besides that, there was another thing Mr. Garrison's class mainly helped me, or the main thing Mr. Garrison's class helped me do was to be more observant about things about technology and be more interested to look into it more, rather than just, go with what's in front of me. So after Mr. Garrison did something very incredible in my life, and I'm incredibly blessed for it, when I came back, I started to watch a lot more YouTube. And I think you guys kind of get where this is going, especially when I talk about YouTube, because I'm mainly going to start talking about the YouTube tech community. For me, the YouTube tech community has been very helpful in allowing me to explore more about technology, and this really expanded my understanding of it too, because this led to a lot more interactions with people about talking about technology. This led to me learning how to build PCs, or learn more about PC parts and which parts go with which, and then, learn how to hustle for PC parts, like learn how to bargain with other people to get the parts that I wanted for my computers. So it was really helpful. And I mainly want to thank one person, even though that's kind of bad to really just focus in on one person, because it doesn't really do it justice. But I really want to thank Mr. Mobile specifically, because he was the first YouTube tech channel that I really watched a lot. That I watched his content daily. I watched all his reviews that he did on technology, and every time he went to an event and what they were unveiling and everything. I mainly thank him because he was the one that got me started in all this. He allowed me to see what he was doing and how he applied technology to his everyday life, living a mobile lifestyle, always somebody that's on the go and bringing technology and always being connected to technology, and allowed me to get a better understanding of it in the process, because the fact that I started watching Mr. Mobile's content a lot more allowed me to broaden out and watch more creators. And as I watched more content creators, I started to see how, there was a community behind it. Like, there were people that provided different inputs on technology or had different biases of technology. Like, I'm being honest, you can go on the YouTube tech community and you can find people that have biases towards Apple. You can find people that have biases towards Android. There's people that have biases towards Nvidia's and Intel, and then people that have biases towards AMD. It's just crazy on how much stuff you can find and how much knowledgeable people are about things. You can find people that are knowledgeable about whether it be microphones, whether it be computers, whether it be headphones, you name it. You can find people that are knowledgeable in every single one of those fields, and it's crazy. But, how does that relate to me doing computer engineering? Good question. So, when I think about it more, computer engineering to me seemed to fit the bill for what I wanted to do with my life. Because I'm personally someone who likes to get my hands on something. I'm not afraid to put my hands on something if I want to learn how it functions. I'm somebody that, if I don't know how something works, I'm not afraid to go in and figure out how it works. If you give me about an hour or two with something, I'm probably able to figure out how it works. Unless if it's something really basic, then, you shouldn't really take that long. But if it's learning how to make a Linux machine and stuff like that, or how to operate one, obviously I'll be real with you, I don't know how a Linux machine works. But if you give me time, I can figure out how it works. But the same thing goes with, using my microphone and doing this whole podcast, because this whole podcast is really just an experiment to see, how much am I really learning about technology? Am I applying what I've learned over these small course of years? Well, really, I should say these past few years, because I really only started getting neck deep into technology when I was 16. That's when I was going full throttle and I wanted to know more about it. And that's where things are where they are right now, where obviously I have all this great equipment around me. So now I'm able to do this. But it's really interesting, guys. I'm not even lying to you, that to me, engineering just fit the bill on what I wanted to do with my life. That I'm just somebody that really enjoys building PCs for life, giving people recommendations for technology, because that's mainly what I've been doing for the past few years. For the past few years, I've literally just been giving advice to either guys that are younger than me, girls that are younger than me, or guys and girls that are older than me. Giving them advice on pieces of technology, or asking them specific questions what do you want to use this for? When it comes to smartphones, what do you want in a smartphone? Do you want something that runs clean? Do you want something with a good camera? Do you want something that can provide good audio quality from a headphone jack? Does it have a headphone jack? Do you want something that can record good video? Can you edit video on it very good and very easily without any troubles? It's all these questions that I started to be more specific about. And really, that's how I say when it comes to technology, that's really how you need to address a lot of things is, how specific are you? Like when you see somebody giving you support or advice on a piece of technology, study how they're responding to you. Like, are they responding to you in a manner that's saying like, that's very open-ended, or are they telling you specifically, like straight to the point, what is this and what does this do? What do you need this for? And they go into detail about every single specification that you could imagine. Rather than giving you like minute details, they start using words that are attributed only to those items. And it's just crazy, guys, that, especially because I've been blessed with this entire opportunity to have a podcast, to start something new in my life that incorporates what I've learned over the years. Because not only am I applying what I've learned about technology, now I'm learning how to use the technology that I have at my disposal and learn how to edit the audio, learn how to put pieces of audio together, how to mix audio, like how to truly listen into music and see what tone do I want it to fit. Which I know I don't want to name drop music a lot, especially because that, just a spoiler, it's probably a future episode. Let's just be real here. It probably is. But it's true. Like, technology is incorporated in our everyday lives, and that's just facts. I'm being real with you. Technology has been incorporated into every single action that human beings do. It is incorporated into making food. It is incorporated to washing our clothes. It's incorporated to keeping our food cold, to warming up our food, to writing our essays, to printing out papers, to cut down those trees to make that paper. Like, technology is incorporated into everything we do. Like, I cannot imagine how things were back in the day, because obviously I was born in 2000. I don't know how things were in the 90s, the 80s, and etc. I don't know. My dad does, but that's a story for another time. But, when it comes to engineering, specifically engineering, I can't think of a better thing for somebody that loves technology to not do engineering. But I would say if you have a passion for technology and to use those gifts that you were given and apply them to something that involves technology, and you want to help other people in the process, then look into engineering, because engineering is such a broad field that there's so many types. There's audio engineer, there's computer engineering, there's computer science, there's electrical, there's petroleum, there's civil and architecture. Like, there's so many types of engineering, and it's so fascinating because you're going to use technology in every single one of them. For me, obviously, mine is going to be a mix of electrical and computer science, so I'll have to do a lot more. Well, I'll be doing a mix between hardware and software. So I have to learn how to code, and then at the same time, I have to, learn how to build circuits. Obviously, I've built circuits before because I took a digital electronics class. And when it comes to coding, I'll be honest, I suck at coding. I don't know how to code. I just don't. Obviously, I have to learn, and it shouldn't be that hard, but you get my point. Now, I'm really trying to think, because there's just so much to this topic that I'll be honest with you, I really haven't shared this much detail with people about me wanting to do technology, or specifically me wanting to do engineering, because that's always the main question that I've been asked is, Josh, why did you choose computer engineering? And like, I mainly rely on the same answer every single time, but I never go into detail about it. I just personally love computers. That's just how that is. Like, I enjoy building them, and I know the parts inside of them. I understand how those parts work together. And it's because of that, that's why I really like computer engineering. Obviously, based on what I'm saying, that kind of sounds like I should be really doing electrical, because if I'm not good in coding, then why would I do something involving coding? Why don't I just do electrical? Well, that kind of bottlenecks me in options, guys, if I do that. Because if I do electrical engineering, that limits me to only doing hardware. But if I do computer engineering, now I have hardware and software. So if hardware is not doing so good, I can get transferred over to a software division. And then I'll still be making the same amount of money, or probably even more money. And obviously, like, yes, one of the things about engineering is that it makes a lot of money. That is just fact. Engineers make a lot of money. Like, base minimum is probably $100,000 a year for computer engineers. Like that's the base. And obviously as time goes by and as you get promoted higher and higher in a company, or if you go freelancing, then yeah, like the money really isn't an issue. And then obviously in the sense of school, like obviously I'm at a university, I'm at Texas Tech. So obviously there's going to be a little bit of debt in the process because, well, I just don't have the money to pay for this whole school. But because of my degree, I can at least be more confident, or more specifically, I can be assured that the debt will be paid because my future job provides more than what my debt is going to be. So I think that's a really good benefit. And I'll just give this piece of advice now. When it comes to college debt, I'll be real with you guys. For me, college debt doesn't really seem that big of an issue because if you're doing a job or you plan on getting a career that pays a lot of money and it's more money than what your debt is, you should not be worried because it will be paid. Obviously, I'm being real with you. If you do something like photography and you're like $80,000 in debt, you're probably going to be in debt for the rest of your life. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to insult people that do photography for a living, but you know, the numbers don't lie. And then obviously, like for me, if I'll just be honest with my situation. In theory, my debt's going to be about $20,000. So if I make $120,000 a year, you kind of see where I'm getting at. Like the debt will be paid pretty easily if I decide to go that route. But that's my main point regarding that. So yeah, that's my main reason of why I chose computer engineering. But I do have a good question, and I'm going to leave you guys with this one. For all of you that are listening that are interested in technology, or more specifically engineering, why did you choose it? You know, why do you like technology? Like what drives you? What motivates you? Like what keeps you engaged with technology that makes you want to keep learning more about it, or keep coming back and keep wanting to explore technology and get a better understanding of it? But I'm gonna leave you guys with that. Okay, now that we got all out of the way, I just want to do a little bit of clarification regarding the whole schedule thing, because I posted something on my social media talking about the whole schedule. So with the schedule, based on how my classes are this year, I'm going to mainly do one a week. And I'm mainly going to upload them Wednesday, but depending on how the week is for that, like depending on whatever week it is for school, I could also do a bonus episode on Fridays. So that's the schedule. The schedule permanently will be every Wednesday with a random chance of a bonus episode on Fridays. So yeah, I can at least guarantee there will be a bonus episode every month. I can guarantee you that. There will be at least one bonus. But consistently everything will come out on Wednesdays, and that's when the podcast episodes will drop. Also, I'm going to do this on the Instagram page. I'm going to do a poll, and on that poll, I'm going to put some questions, and I'm going to ask you guys, which ones do you want me to cover? Or more specifically, what topics do you guys want me to cover on the show? Because, hey, that's the whole point, is we're supposed to be growing in this experience together. Like that's the main point. In the intro episode, I said, I want us to enjoy this journey together as I build my podcast up. So I'm going to be posting things like that on my Instagram page regarding what topics you guys want me to cover. And then obviously like what topics do you want me to go about? Do you want me to do technology? Do you want me to do business one day? Or, you know, something's hot in the gaming world and we'll talk about that. But yeah, that's mainly what I got on the plate, guys. I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and thank you so much, guys, for coming back. And if you're new, then hi there. It's really a pleasure to have you guys listen to my podcast and really get to know me better in the process, because that's the main point, is that you guys get to experience this whole journey with me. And as I grow, you start to notice that, you know, I become more knowledgeable on things. And as more time goes by, the more experience I have, especially with doing podcasting, if I'm being specific with podcasting, you'll notice how things change and the quality just keeps getting better and better and better because I keep doing it more and more and more. So I really hope that you guys keep sticking around, you keep listening to these podcasts, and, you know, you just listen to me sharing my opinion, because that's mainly what I want to do, is just share how I feel about these topics or questions and answer them here on the podcast. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. You guys take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys next time, or more specifically, I'll see you guys next week. Have yourselves a good one. Peace out, guys. I love you guys.